You will sometimes hear to this game referred to as Aliens vs Predator 3, but the official title of the game is just Aliens vs Predator. This game was created by Rebellion, who are the exact same developer who created the first game Aliens vs Predator in 1998 back on the PC all those years ago. And of course you have the best game in the series, Aliens vs Predator 2, which was released in 2001 and was created by Monolith, the same guys who brought you the Fear franchise. So it stands to reason that expectations were high for this first release on the Xbox 360 in the Aliens franchise. Did this game live up to the hype? Let's hit the review and find out. Aliens vs Predator has 3 separate campaigns. It has a Marine campaign, a Predator campaign and a Xenomorph/Alien campaign, and each of these stories interlock and interweave in some way, so something you do in one campaign has an impact on another campaign. Let's quickly start out then with the Marine campaign. It's probably the most generic campaign of the 3. It's pretty much standard fare here. You're running around with a pulse rifle, shooting Xenomorphs and trying not to die. So anyone who's played a video game in the last 20 years will probably know what to expect from the Marine campaign. The Marine campaign starts off relatively slowly compared to the other two. You awaken after a crash and you get directions over the radio to come and join up with the rest of your Marines in the processing station. The Marine campaign starts off with a slow burn. You don't actually see a Xenomorph for about the first 10 minutes. Needless to say, as you move on, shit hits the fan and everything goes wrong and you end up going from place to place, killing Xenomorphs, fighting Predators later on in the campaign, and you also have a rather disappointing boss fight with a Queen Alien. Weapons are pretty standard fare for the franchise. You start off with a pistol, then you get a pulse rifle, which actually has 99 rounds in the clip like the movies. Thank you very much, Aliens Colonial Marines. You pick up a smart gun sometimes, flamethrower, a very useful shotgun, and unfortunately a rather useless sniper rifle. And it's useless because you cannot see shit in this game. It is very, very dark, so I have no idea how useful a sniper rifle could be. Now, the Marine campaign can be completed in probably 3 to 4 hours in a first playthrough. It's in no way frightening the way that the beginning of Aliens vs Predator 2 was, or frightening like Alien Isolation. It's a little bit generic, but at the same time it is probably the best of all 3 of the campaigns. Now finally, onto the Predator campaign. You have to come down from your Predator planet to find a bunch of young Predators who've been killed and dispose of their bodies. That's essentially the basic story of the Predator campaign. Now, whereas the Marine campaign is probably the best campaign and the Alien campaign is probably the most violent campaign, the Predator campaign is probably the coolest campaign. Out of all of the games I've ever played with a Predator as the main protagonist, this is the game which makes me feel like I'm hunting humans more than any other game out there. You've got some totally kick-ass gadgetry just like the movies, and this in my opinion is where the Predator campaign really shines, and that is when you are hunting humans. You are given multiple open locations and given as many tools as you like to take down your prey however you choose to do so. And this is when you're going to feel like an absolute intergalactic hunting badass as the Predator. You're given so many tools at your disposal to take down the humans. You can literally mimic human voices to get a Marine away from the packs. You can then stealth kill him from behind. You can use the plasma caster. You can literally snipe people from a distance. You can use your cloak and really get close and observe your prey. You can use your heat visions just like the film. This really is the playground aspect of Aliens vs Predator. Now, that being said, when hunting humans, the Predator is very, very specialised in doing so, but when it comes to fighting Xenomorphs, the game kind of becomes a little bit of a clusterfuck. Basically, when you're fighting Xenomorphs, it's going to be one of two things. A, do I have enough plasma caster? If so, I will shoot the said Xenomorph using the Xenomorph vision. If not, we're going to play this little game of tag with melee combat using light and strong attacks. And it's just not as fun fighting the Xenomorphs as the Predator. They can see past your cloak, so you lose a lot of your abilities there. And it certainly isn't as much fun when you're doing so. As the Predator, your final boss of the game is to take down a Predalien, an alien which was invented in the first Aliens vs Predator game back there in 1998. And that's a pretty good boss fight. It's certainly much better than the boss fight you have when you're playing as the Marine. So when you look at all 3 side by side, I think the Predator campaign is clearly the most fun out of the 3, especially when you're hunting humans. So let's hit the Xenomorph campaign. Now, the first thing that I can tell you about the Xenomorph campaign is by far the shortest of all 3 campaigns. I had a let's play on my old channel. It lasted for about an hour and 20 minutes, but that is not necessarily a bad thing. The Predator and the Marine have long distance weapons, and you're trying to survive the Xenomorph continually hounding you and running at you, so you have to keep them at a distance because of their acid blood. The Xenomorph, the way the campaign plays is you hide in the shadow and you jump your enemies from behind and you kill them with stealth kills. That is the way the Xenomorph campaign plays. So you have less options available to you. You use your claws, your tail and your inner mouth to really destroy your opponent in the stealth aspect. The story in the Xenomorph campaign is pretty standard fare nowadays. You're being held captive by a load of scientists looking to experiment on you, and by hook or crook you escape and you have to make your way back to the hive and kill everyone who stands in your way. Now, the Alien campaign is a primeval, biting, clawing, tail whipping, bloody gore fest. It is as animal-like as you can be. You literally get these people, you slash them in the face, you literally see your inner mouth open with a stealth kill, it plunges into the head of your opponent with a nice splatter of blood, and you literally feel like a Xenomorph. It is absolutely brutal and it is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. But this is probably the campaign that's going to appeal to the least amount of people. And the reason for that is the campaign is literally a stealth campaign. If you run at a group of Marines, they will fool you for the ledge and you will die very, very quickly. So you have to get very good at climbing on walls, hiding in the shadows and distracting your enemies and picking them off one at a time. This campaign is well worth playing just for being so different from the other two, being melee based only and stealth based. Anyway, let's hit the graphics and sound. I've been watching the gameplay there in the background for about the last 7 minutes or so you can see that graphically this game is still pretty nice, bearing in mind it was made 5 years ago. Everything looks crisp and clear. The Xenomorph has a nice amount of detail, as do the humans and the Predator. Unfortunately, the game is so dark that it doesn't matter what you do to your TV settings or to the in-game settings, it's really, really difficult to actually see this detail in the game, and that's a shame because the graphics are quite good. The actual engine kind of reminds me of the Turok remake, which came out around the same time. If you remember the graphical style of Turok, it kind of reminds me of Aliens vs Predator 2010. So this game is not going to compete with great looking games like Crysis 1 and 2 on the Xbox 360, but the graphics certainly do their job and there is a nice level of detail to the game. And now we're going to move on to sound, and the first thing that really grates on me about this game, I have seen the Alien movies probably into the hundreds of times over my lifetime, and for them to get such a basic thing wrong as the hiss of the Xenomorph after all those films, how the hell did they do it? What were they thinking? Anyway, that's just me being a big Aliens fanboy. The actual musical score of the game is really quite good. For example, the Predator campaign has a score which imitates the Predator movies, and that's exactly the same with the other two campaigns as well. It all kind of fits the mood, you know, it's quiet when it needs to be quiet, and it picks up the musical tempo when there's action sequences as well. The only real standout in the voice acting department is Lance Henriksen, who comes back into this game to reprise his role as Bishop. The rest of the voice acting in this game is pretty much meh. I'm pretty sure they hired the same sort of 3 or 4 voice actors and they provide most of the vocal work for the game. It gets the job done, but it's not going to blow your cock off with the effectiveness of it all. Right, here it is, the good, the bad, the ugly and the final verdict. I really like the fact that the campaigns all feel sufficiently different from each other. You know, the Aliens campaign is all melee based and stealth based. The Predator, you definitely are hunting your prey, especially when you look at the humans. You're using your gadgetry, you're using cloak, you're jumping from tree to tree, and you're using stealth as well. And the Marine, you really are the helpless, fleshy Marine, you know, and you have to rely on your weapons to keep your enemy at a distance. The campaigns do feel different to each other. I also have to mention the fact that this game is definitely better than Aliens Colonial Marines. Whether or not you can actually count that as a plus is down to your interpretation, but it's nice to certainly get a tick in the box as far as that's concerned. If this game can actually take any wins away from Aliens vs Predator from 1998 and Aliens vs Predator 2 by Monolith, they can say that this game by far has the best Predator campaign of all 3 games, and it's not even a close competition. And if you are a fan of any of the franchises, either Aliens or Predator, you can automatically say you will like this game more than someone else who's just picking it up on the off chance. There are nods to the franchise here, even if they don't hit the nail on the head with every single thing that they attempt. So we've done the good, let's move on to the bad and the ugly. Now, for all of the things that this game does right, it just feels kind of generic to me, and I cannot help but think that Alien Isolation and Aliens vs Predator 2, as well as the 1998 games, are just better games all around. This just feels generic, especially when you're talking about the Marine campaign. And just while we're on the subject of the Marine campaign, I think the biggest problem with this Marine campaign is the fact that there is no fear element. When you're playing Alien Isolation or Aliens vs Predator 2, there is a great amount of suspense and fear. And while we're also talking about that, how in the blue hell of Hades left scrotum can a human melee a xenomorph or a predator? The xenomorph is a deadly organism. There is no one, I don't care how big you are, how strong you are, if you hit a xenomorph with the butt of your rifle, it will do diddly squat. That thing will still kill you, no questions asked. And it's completely insane that that is even in the game. So in a nutshell, I think the things that really hurt this game are the campaign length is not particularly lengthy. I mean, you add all the campaigns together, you're looking at 5 hours of gameplay. But that being said, they are sufficiently different to kind of keep you interested as you play through. Unfortunately, the atmosphere on this game is severely lacking. I think Alien Isolation has really shown what they can do if they go back to their horror roots of the franchise. And I recently did a Let's Play of Aliens vs Predator from 1998, and that game is a hell of a lot more scary and atmospheric than this game is. So when everything is said and done, I've given you my opinions on various bits and pieces in the game. What do I think of Aliens vs Predator 2010 all encompassing? To be honest, it's alright. It could have been better, it could have been worse. Look at what happened with Aliens Colonial Marines. It could have been another Colonial Marines. It's certainly no Alien Isolation. There's my pedestal with Alien Isolation right up there. Very happy with that game. But this will kind of scratch that Xenomorph itch for you, that Predator itch, if you've got an Xbox 360. And I know I haven't mentioned it in review, but this game is adult orientated. If you want to buy a game just for the gore, this game will not disappoint. You rip people's eyes out, you literally rip their heads off. It will satisfy even the most hardened gorehound out there. So the Sackmeister is going to score this game a 7 out of 10. With the understanding, if you are a fan of any of the franchises like me, then this is a solid 7 out of 10 for you. It's above average. But if you are not a fan of the franchises, I would lower that score a little bit to maybe a 5.5 out of 10, because you're not going to quite get the same enjoyment as someone like me who is a fanboy of the franchises. I hope you enjoyed my review. Subscribe to my channel for more like this. Sack out.
Outstanding.